Hey everybody, it's Alika Lifty, and today let's brew our Ethiopia Wush Wush low O2 coffee as a filter offering. This is another low O2 processed coffee from Ethiopia, from our friends at Catalyst Coffee. So, it is from the Wush Wush region of Ethiopia. It is not the Wush Wush varietal. So, the varietal we're dealing with is basically like an heirloom variety derived from Wush Wush over, many years ago. So it is not going to be your typical Wush Wush cup profile. However, we get some similar characteristics, namely this bright acidity, because of this low O2 processing. So Wush Wush region, not Wush Wush varietal. How many times can we say Wush Wush in this video? You have to say it at least 16 times before you start brewing this coffee. So because it's really bright, I wanted to pull out more sweetness from this coffee, so we're going to brew with the Stag X dripper. Its double wall stainless steel is going to help contain a lot of this heat, and we are going to brew a derivative of the traditional 4-6 method. So it's a little bit more coarse than most of these recipes that you follow are going to be, and we are going to be using a little hotter water than the traditional 4-6 in addition to this flatbed dripper. And we're gonna let this water drain through all the way before we hit it again with our next pulse of water. So I have 20 grams of my Ethiopia Wush Wush low O2, ground medium, barely medium fine. This is 14 clicks on your Baratza Encore. This will be about 23, 24 on your Commandante C40, and we are looking at a 1 on the fellow Ode, like a true 1. That's actually what I ground this on. And first things first, we're gonna be using 300 mils of 200 degree Fahrenheit water. So again, it's hotter than the traditional 4-6 method. We're gonna get a lot of heat in here. It's still gonna be a pretty fast brew. All right, let's preheat our paper filter. I've mentioned before, I traditionally like to use Kalita filters in the Stag dripper. Their waves are just a little bit tighter, but I'm actually using the Stag filters in here. They're gonna be perfectly fine. Now they're gonna help us actually get a faster flow rate because they're a little wider in their wave pattern. It kind of pushes the coffee more narrow, and it's gonna get really tall when we do this. So let this water drain all the way through. My water's at 200, it's actually at 202, but we're gonna be all right. I'm gonna dose my 20 grams of medium ground coffee. Shake that brewer flat. I'm gonna give a gentle tug, make sure this filter is flat here and even. Coffee bed is flat, my scale is on, scale is taired. Got my coffee mug ready to go, and my kettle is now dropped down to 200. Let's get brewing. First, I'm going to bloom 50 grams. And I'm gonna let it rest for 50 seconds. Sorry, 30 seconds. There we go. 50 gram bloom, 30-second rest. And so at 30 seconds, I'm gonna pour really heavy, bringing this water up, careful not to overflow over the filter, and I'm gonna stop at 120 grams total. Already getting this aromatic. I can see this little crust, and I hope to break that when I pour here. So I'm pouring straight in the middle. Give it a little spiral to touch all that coffee, finishing off at 120. And I'm gonna let this drain all the way through. So times may vary based on subtle differences between grinders, water profiles. We're gonna be all right. The water should drip all the way through at or before 1 minute and 10 seconds. And so at or before 1 minute and 10 seconds, I'm gonna hit it again, bringing this up to 180. There we go. So I've got a slow drip here at about 106, 7, 8. Drop in here, spiral out, try to touch all this coffee, finishing at 180. All right, and again, so I'm trying to touch all the coffee to keep this bed flat. I'm pouring heavy so it rises up and drains all the way through. This should drain through at or before 1 minute 50. Because it's really bright, because I want to get more sweetness, I'm letting it drain all the way through. so that I can hit it with fresh hot water, and we're gonna speed up this extraction. Here at 145, boom. I'm going up to 240 now. There we go. It's pretty fast. It's pretty straightforward. We're gonna get similar results. I wouldn't worry about it draining through and hitting these pores at exactly the same times that I am. We've got a little bit of a range. We're gonna be all right. The big thing is that we're not letting it rest too long without any water in here, and that you're hitting it again, and that it is actually draining through before we hit it again. So, final pour. I'm gonna finish up all the way to 300 grams total. This should happen at or near about 2 minutes and 40 seconds. There we go, I'm through the top of the brew bed. Almost there, about 2.5. Here at about 235, I'm gonna finish this off. Boom, hit it. At this point, we should no longer have much of a foam because we pushed most of these oils through. Any lingering foam is really light. We don't have that crust. So we're gonna get a coffee with a pretty nice texture, even with this coarser grind setting. I expect if we have ground too coarse in either a traditional recipe or in this recipe, or let this rest too long without any water, this is gonna be really weak. It's gonna be really tart and kind of grassy. And on the other side of things, if we are just building this water level up, not letting it drain all the way through, then we are going to get still really astringent cup and a lingering aftertaste of like green apple skin. So like that drying, kind of like gritty feeling. But when we are balanced, I am almost finished draining here at 3.5 minutes. So I'd say plus or minus about 20 seconds from here, 3.5 minutes. Once we are right there, we are going to taste plum candy. So really sweet, really bright and slightly tart. We're gonna get this nice floral honeysuckle, so a little bit more sweetness in there. And green apple, so tart, slightly drying, but overall mouth-watering. And we are going to taste Grenadine, which is a non-alcoholic, tart, and very sweet syrup. That's very aromatic. Serve and enjoy. Whoosh, whoosh.